Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining me again for a chat with Byron. Today, we're going to be talking about meaningful work and what goes into this idea of what is meaningful work. So, we're going to be kind of discussing this. This also kind of goes along with the PDF I have here. As meaningful work is work that makes a difference in you. It also makes a difference in society. Um, I really believe the idea of most of us have to work. Most of us are in a situation where we're trying to find work that is meaningful, meaning that we don't dread our work. But there are people that they're in situations where they hate their work, and or they're in situations that they're that they feel like there are times when their work is toil. And I'll be honest with you, there are times when I believe that that can be a season. But the point is that there's no reason why I believe there's no reason why work cannot be meaningful, because when you think about it, you think about how much time we spend in our jobs in our lifetime. It's a crazy amount of time. It's 100,000 hours the average person spends in their lifetime in their working. So when you think about how much time are we're with our families, how much time are we sleeping, it really is about 100,000 hours of work. It's about 100,000 hours of sleep, and it's about 100,000 hours because that ends up totaling our entire lives. The point is that it's really important to be thinking about how are we doing in carving out the idea of bringing the meaning that we have in our life to our work so that our work is meaningful. And I believe that it's possible, because this is something I learned years ago. I think the story goes, there was a monk. I mean, actually, it was a brother in the religious order of this particular tradition. He wasn't one of the top guys. He was a lower guy, and he ended up working in the kitchen. And he didn't have an important job, but what he ended up doing was he ended up having a mindset that he was trying to please God, even in the little things that he was doing. So he found this. He ended up creating this kind of mantra, this chant that he would say on a regular basis, that was kind of derived from a piece of scripture from the Bible. And he would say this in his response as he was doing the work in the kitchen of the monastery. And the point is that he, a long time ago, taught me, and this kind of idea goes back for me personally, back into the early 1990s, when I was first introduced to this concept of work, of the work that can be meaningful. And then this brother's work was introduced to me in the mid 1990s. And I have also kind of adopted this saying that he would say on a regular basis, because what it does, it centers me into, when I'm doing work that may not be the greatest, I may not enjoy it as much. It provides me with this idea that I'm the one that actually brings the meaning into my work. So that was the whole point. And this story is that as he was in the kitchen, and you think about a kitchen in any time frame, I mean, maybe they didn't have the same kind of technology that we have today, but kitchens for a large monastery, that would be a pretty significant room. A lot of people working, doing various things and trying to prepare the meal or clean up after the meal. And you think about the noise, the volume, and the cadence and the pace and the activity. And what he chose to do, he chose to have this mindset that he was going to still be able to focus on God in the midst of the toil, the doldrums, in the midst of just the daily activity of providing 3 meals a day to hundreds of people that were living and working in this monastery. So my point is this, is that if we spend 100,000 hours of our lives on average in a situation where we're working, wouldn't it be something to consider to try to find work that is actually meaning and fulfilling to you? Because when you think about the concept of fulfillment, and again, I like this little graphic, and I just simply found this graphic online, is on two axes: the ability to live a full life versus the axis passion for your work. Do you have do you does your work contribute to your fulfillment? So you think about that when you look at this. If you have very little passion for your work, and you don't have the ability to live a full life, then the answer would be no. Then you're considering leaving your job, or you feel, in some ways, you feel trapped in your job, and you can't leave because you don't see your job really providing you the opportunity to live a full life, and you don't believe you're actually able to express your passion at work. But if you were able to express your passion at work, but you didn't have the ability to live a full life, then it's kind of sort of fits that. Meaning it's not quite, it doesn't meet the ability to fulfill your life, but you are able to live out your passion, or the opposite. You're able to live a full life, but you're not having passion. It's kind of that sort of. But when you're able to live your full life and also express your passion, it's very similar to the concept of ikigai, which is the Japanese concept of having a full life. Is this idea of, yes, everything you're able to provide something the world needs, and you're able to kind of express your own uniquenesses. So I believe it's possible for us to have this idea that we can have fulfillment and literally thrive in our jobs. This week, as I was preparing this chat with Byron, there's actually a book that I came across. The author's name is Corey Keyes, and he wrote a book called Languishing. Because languishing, in many ways, is the exact opposite of when we think about. In many ways, languishing actually can be even more serious than even depression, because languishing, we don't do anything about it. So I'm just going to read some of these because I think these are pretty important. Languishing has been described as feeling meh or being blah. To languish is to lose our nerve, or is to lose or never have many of the good things in life that makes our lives matter and meaningful. So let me just read that again. To languish is to lose or never have many of the good things in life that makes our lives matter and meaningful. So if you feel like in your life that you're kind of languishing, you're just kind of, it's in many ways, and actually it's not just many ways, in almost every single way, to languish is to suffer. If you are suffering because you don't believe that you have the good things in your life that can make your life have meaning and your life matters, you think about it, you take away, in a human being, you take away hope, you take away the fact that they believe that their lives can matter, then you have some serious problems. And I know, I personally have known people who've chosen to take their life. And I believe that when someone takes their life, they're at the end, like the end of the rope, so to speak. They believe in their mind, they're thinking rationally. They're thinking, oh, this makes total sense. I mean, this is a decision I have to do. I must do this. This is what I need to do. I mean, I'm not going to be missed, etc. All these different things, because they no longer matter. So this is when languishing becomes such a problem that they start to think about their suicide plans, and then they make a decision that they can't change. So the point is that people who languish, they don't feel they belong to a community, and they aren't making much of a contribution to the world. So when you're languishing, you're kind of stuck in between this place of purpose and this place of purposelessness. But people that are suffering from languishing, they don't like most parts of their personality. They don't like themselves. And I would almost venture to say this: they don't know themselves. Because when you are introduced to yourself, unless there's been severe abuse, there has to be some sort of kind of reconciling to where you can accept yourself, because no one is perfect. And even our projections, our imaginations of who we think we are, no one is going to live and be even considered in their own mind perfect. But there has to be a point, at some point in an adult human life, where they accept they have to kind of come to grips with some things. They have to accept some things. They have to kind of accept who they are. They kind of accept who their personality, what their personality is, the good parts and the bad parts. And the idea is that people who are languishing, they don't have warm and trusting relationships, that they don't have that the feeling of the commitment of love and being loved. That's missing from their lives, and they aren't being challenged to become a better person. So again, if they're languishing, they're not improving, and they're also not comfortable. So it's not like they're just simply sitting on the couch eating Fritos. No, that these folks are they might just be in many situations, they might just simply trying to anesthetize the pain. And that could be through, food. It could be through alcohol. It could be through drugs. It could be through a number of ways. People who are languishing, they aren't confident to think or express their own ideas or opinions. So they're kind of, in many ways, they feel like they're kind of invisible. So when someone is languishing, you might look at them when they don't know you're looking at them, and they might be kind of have this sense of like, they're kind of like have this distant stare on their face or their expression, that they're kind of just, who knows where they are in their mind, but they're not with you right then, and they're not with you right now because they don't feel like they are able to kind of even present themselves and to kind of be seen and to be understood and to be heard. So as a result, they aren't confident to express their own opinions because they don't believe their opinions matter. So their life has no meaning or direction, and they don't feel happy or satisfied in their life. So you think about add all that together. What that ends up saying is that this is a serious mental health issue that you want to have addressed right away. This is not for coaching. This is for someone that needs to go see someone to talk about therapy and working through some of these things in a therapeutic way. But languishing in many ways could be even more important, more profound than something as serious as like clinical depression. Because when you're in a depression, you're more than likely going to know it. I think it's possible to be in a languishing state and you don't even know it. So I appreciate Corey Key's ideas here, because I think it's really important to understand that in many ways, when we think about meaning, it's important for us to think about the antithesis, the opposite. And that's really what it's really in between this idea of languishing and suffering versus flourishing. So flourishing is so much more than just happiness, because we need to prioritize functioning well over feeling happy. It's not about being happy. In many ways, it has more of this notion of being content. But people who are flourishing, so you think about people who are languishing, they're kind of stuck. They don't have confidence. They're not at all moving forward in their life. They're not confident. They don't express their own thoughts or their own opinions. They don't see themselves in a positive way. They don't see themselves as almost invisible. And obviously the terminal or the terminus for someone who's languishing is these folks are the folks that end up taking their own lives. But people who are flourishing, the exact opposite, they have the lowest rate of mental illness as far as the people that have the lowest amount of mental illness. These are the folks that are flourishing. And these are the kind of people that we want to become, and me included. We want to flourish because there's a sizable group of young people who are flourishing when it comes to feeling good, meaning that they feel happy or they're satisfied much of the time, but they're languishing when it comes to functioning well. So you want to have both. You want to have the fact that you're feeling good, you're flourishing, but also you're also functioning well, meaning you're not just feeling good because you're taking drugs. You're also able to feel good, plus you're able to function well. So the group that feels happy but isn't functioning well has over 5 times the rate of depression than the group that is flourishing. So we want to have people in our lives, and this is what's hard, because when you have someone who is maybe situationally happy, but they're actually languishing when it comes to how well they're functioning, that is someone who absolutely needs help, and that is someone that could be a candidate for coaching. It could also be a candidate for therapy. But when someone's not happy and they're not flourishing, that is someone who's a candidate for therapy. But the whole idea is that you want to have both the flourishing, that you're happy, but it's so much more than happiness. But I'll add the idea of contentment. And I think that when you think about joy is a function of your focus. So when you think about, if you're going to be happy, if you're going to be content, and again, I think contentment is a more fulfilled or a more robust idea than happiness, because happiness, I think, can be very circumstantial. But when you think about contentment is deeper. It has more substance to it. So when you think about flourishing, I would encourage you to think about the notion of what it means to be content. And then when you think about being content, I would also kind of throw in there this idea of your joy is a function of your focus. And this is also something that, Tony Robbins would say, your energy goes where your energy goes where your focus goes. So your energy and focus are the same. So where your focus flows, your energy goes. So the idea of, if you want to be happy, then focus on being content. If you want to be content, what are you focusing on? Because if you're focusing on something that is eternal, let's say the virtues, let's say the virtue of love. If you're focusing on that is going to give you more opportunities for joy, because that is going to be, again, joy is a function of focus. And I'm sorry, I kind of break that down almost like in a math equation, but that's kind of how my mind works. So joy is a function of focus. So if you want to have joy, you want to be paying attention to what you're paying attention to. Does that make sense? So when happiness is not tethered to life, where you have purpose, belonging, acceptance, personal growth, and other aspects of functioning well, because you want to have a life, we talked about this last week, there has to be a certain order and a orderliness to your life. The orderliness is directly connected to functioning well. When you have a life that is orderly and ordered, you're going to function well. And what I mean by that is that you're going to follow through with your commitments. First of all, you're going to have a commitment to yourself, and then you're going to have commitments with other people, and you're going to follow through with those commitments. And when you say you're going to do something, you're going to do something. When you say you're not going to do something, you're not going to worry about the guilt trip because you said no. So you're able to say yes, you're able to say no, but you're functioning well. It is not a very healthy form of happiness that when your happiness is tied to when your happiness is tied to things like what you're eating or what you're consuming or what you're buying. Because I think a lot of us in North America, especially in the part of the United States where I live, I think a lot of people, their happiness is really is a part of how, what they're buying, what they're driving, where they live, what they're consuming as far as, consumer products. But when you think about it, happiness, it really needs to be tethered and connected to something deeper. It's like we talked about last week. The surface emotions are always connected to something deeper. This is true too. So happiness is always connected to something deeper, like acceptance or purpose or belonging or identity or personal growth. And when it is, you have something that's foundational. But it's like when someone is eating junk food, they might feel good for a while. It's like you've heard about the guy that ate nothing but McDonald's for, I think it was like 30 days. And he said the first week or so, he said it felt amazing. But after a certain point of eating McDonald's, and he ate McDonald's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I think it was for a solid month. And I forget how much weight he gained, but he gained so much weight. And he took blood before and after. But the point is that when you think about flourishing, because it's both and, it's not an either or. It's when you have to have the happiness, which is connected to contentment, which is also connected to joy, which is connected to what you're focusing on. But it also has to be connected to how well your life is functioning. So he felt great for the first couple weeks of eating McDonald's, and then slowly, his body just completely turned, and he felt completely miserable. And I think it's going to be similar to that way. So what helps? There are 5 activities that flourishing individuals do more each day. So which one of these resonates the most with you? So you think about joy as a function of focus. And if you want to be joyful and you want to be content, what are you focusing on? So here are 5 things to think about. Helping others. In what way are you orienting your life around the idea and the action of helping other human beings in some way, in some shape or some form? And this could be something as simple as making a commitment to yourself. And again, this is going to sound silly, but making a commitment to yourself that whenever you're at a door, if there's an opportunity to wait for someone, you'll wait for them. And if there's an opportunity to open the door, you'll open the door for them. Something simple as that. And that is very, very basic. Learn something new. So you can make a commitment to yourself that you're going to learn something new. So these are the activities that flourishing people are engaged in. They socialize. They're thinking about connecting meaningfully at a social level on a regular basis. They're not separating themselves out in a kind of a hermitage someplace. No, they're intentionally being in a social context. Play. How are you playing? And this is where, in my opinion, I think having an animal, doesn't matter what kind of animal it is. It'd be hard for me to imagine that you can interact with a lizard the same or a reptile the same way you can interact with a dog or a cat. But the point is that animals help us to kind of elevate this notion of play. And I think that I talked about a couple chat with Byron's ago, the idea of a leading indicator to life, a meaningful life, and a leading indicator of flourishing is this idea of being playful. And I know people who literally have voices for their animals, and whenever they talk to, or they have a voice where the animal talks to them, and it's always in a very consistent kind of sounding voice. That's absolutely a function of someone who's flourishing, is because they're playing. And lastly, they participate in spiritual or religious activities, and again, on a regular basis. So these are the things that help us as human beings move towards what does a meaningful life look like? Well, a meaningful life looks like someone who's flourishing. Well, what does a flourishing life look like? Well, a flourishing life is someone who's happy and someone who has a life that's somewhat well ordered, where they're functioning well and they're able to follow through with their commitments, and they are happy, but they're working on being content, and they're mindful of what they're focusing on. So why is this important? Fulfillment and flourishing protect against this. They protect against things like suicide attempts and suicidality, self-harm, and other than suicide, addiction, depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, relapse of mental illness, reduced work productivity, premature death. We could prevent and reduce the amount of problems like these if we took fulfillment and flourishing more seriously. And if anyone knows, and I would venture to guess that most of us know someone who has taken their life. Most of us have been impacted by that. And if we could somehow, go back and change something or help that person, we would. These are the kinds of things that flourishing and fulfillment, they absolutely, in some ways, they're almost like a vitamin that can prevent these other things. And the other thing I want to, because I want to move this into the realm of work, and I might go a little bit past the top of the hour, just so I can kind of finish my thought today, because this was really kind of more about meaningful work, but the idea of flourishing and fulfillment, and then flourishing versus languishing. That's kind of on a personal level, but we bring that stuff to work. But we really need to have more evolved leaders. And I'm not talking about evolution like in the sense of Darwin. I'm talking about evolution as someone who wants to grow and change and become. But modern leaders, by most standards, they're more collaborative and focused on coaching, developing, empowering empowering their people to do great work than gatekeeping, commanding, and evaluating. The old school type of leader, the top-down kind of command and control type of leader, that is an old paradigm. More leaders today are more into empowering their people to do good work than micromanaging. They're very interested into in collaborating, having a collaborative approach. But I would also say they need to be healthy. These leaders need to be thriving. They need to be flourishing, not languishing, because it's possible for a leader, even though they are more collaborative by and large, generationally, because the older school type leaders were less collaborative. They were more kind of, they would tell you what to do, and if you didn't do it, you got in trouble. But we need leaders to continue to grow, to evolve, because when we think about purpose, modern leaders know their employees as people and help them find meaning in their jobs and ensure that they understand how their work furthers the organization's purpose. So it's the purpose has got to be, it has to have more than one dimension. It certainly has to have the dimension of the individual employee. They need to have a purpose. And I believe it's the responsibility of the leader to understand what that purpose of that individual contributor is, that team member is, and then help them connect that to the purpose of the organization so they can see it, they can feel it, they can smell it, they can experience it. And then accomplishment. Modern leaders encourage their employees' growth and development. They show appreciation, celebrate success, and coach and mentor. So they need to be generous with praise. They need to understand how to listen, how to give feedback. And feedback is king in the idea of coaching and mentorship. You have to be able to understand how to give real-time feedback that is absolutely helpful. And everyone doesn't receive praise the same way. There's an old book read years ago called How to Fill My Bucket, or something like that. And the premise of the book is everyone needs to be rewarded and recognized, everyone, but not in the same way, nowhere near. So it takes an involved leader. It takes an involved leader to see that and understand that and to be able to implement a different strategy and different approaches for different people. And then one another. Modern leaders help their employees build connections with peers and other leaders, introduce them to networking opportunities and special projects, and foster collaboration. They're not at all hoarding that talent. They're wanting that talent to get to know other experts, other leaders, because there's nothing to be afraid of. So I believe that in order to have meaningful work, we need to have more evolved leaders, because once we have more evolved leaders, work is going to feel different. So this is the idea that coincides with this this little PDF I've made. And if you do want this PDF, I'm happy to provide it to you. But these are just my thoughts. I believe we bring the commitment to our work. So meaning it's not that the meaning is inside the work. Commitment is what transforms a promise into reality. We are the ones that bring the commitment. We bring meaning and purpose with us to our work, into our work. So I don't care what your work is. You are the one that actually is responsible for bringing that meaning and that commitment to your work. It could be anything. It could be, I used to watch the show Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe, and I loved it because I believe his spotlighting the importance of the dirty jobs, the jobs that no one really wants to do, but these men and women who do these jobs are incredibly committed to what they're doing. They bring the commitment. They see the meaning in what they're doing. They see the purpose of their work. And it's not, in a lot of those, especially the ones that were business owners, they're very well paid. But the point is, it's not about the corner office, it's all the glass corner office overlooking Central Park. That's not it. It's about having a job, but no matter what your job is, if it's dishwasher, lawyer, medical doctor, like surgeon, computer programmer, it doesn't matter. You're the one that's responsible for bringing the commitment, bringing the promise, because you're ultimately making a promise with yourself, and that's what brings the meaning. Is you're the one that brings the meaning, And people, I love this Leo Tolstoy quote. He said, "The most important person is the one you are with in this moment." And I think the people that are the most gifted with people, they, when they're with other people, and it doesn't matter what station that, what level they are in life. And this is an attribute and a trait I want in my life. And I'm working on this, and you can help hold me accountable. I want, when I'm with another person, I want time to disappear. And I'm someone, I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm pounding on my desk. I'm hearing this pounding because of it's a part of who I am. It's not the tinnitus, but I do have this ringing in my ears. It's not the tinnitus. It's literally it's this idea of go, 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 go. But when I meet with another human being, that's a time when that pounding goes away. And that I believe that this is a gift from my mom. And I'm able to, and I want to, create such a pocket of safety around that individual where time disappears and that person feels like they're the most important person in the world in that moment. And that's really what I'm wanting to accomplish when I'm meeting with people one-on-one. Even if it's through Zoom or meeting them face-to-face. I want, and I have the ability to focus like that, and I want people to feel that. Meaning, sometimes you'll never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. That is a powerful quote. So the idea of when you bring meaning with us, you have to kind of accept this notion that meaning isn't necessarily like tricky or flighty, or meaning there could be a moment and you don't recognize the profundity or the power of that moment until the moment's passed. So in many ways, it's really our responsibility to keep our eyes open, our ears open, our heart open, so that when we have those interactions with other human beings, that we're showing and displaying this idea of being gracious and graceful, and showing dignity, honor, and respect. Being of service, or be of service. I love this Maya Angelou quote. When we give cheerfully and accept gratefully, everyone is blessed. That is so true. And I think that ultimately that's the life that we all live. And again, that's just my opinion. We're living lives of service because we have something to give. We have something to and that's what I call, your big why, or your zone of genius. When you want to spend your life finding out what your zone of genius is, or what your big why is, and then you want to figure out a way to give it away as much as you possibly can. Be of service and be yourself. Oscar Wilde said, "Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken." So it's also, Lao Tzu talked about knowing yourself. He who knows others is wise. He who knows himself is enlightened. So next steps, and I'll wrap up here. It won't take very, very long, but self-reflection and assessment. Start by reflecting on your personal values, your strengths, your passions, and consider what aspects of your work currently align with these and where there might be gaps. Tools like personality tests or professional assessments can help in this self-discovery process. Seek or create meaningful opportunities at work. So actively look for projects or roles within your current job that resonate more deeply with you. If such opportunities are not readily available, consider initiating a conversation with your boss. Build and nurture positive relationships. Focus on improving and valuing your interactions with colleagues and clients. Seek to build relationships with those who share similar values or who inspire you professionally. Literally go after them, network with them. Personal development, continuous learning. Invest in your personal and professional growth. This could involve attending workshops, taking online courses, engaging in activities that enhance your skills, hiring a coach. It could be a number of things. But to me, the idea of being in a job or having work that is not meaningful is, well, in many ways, that would be incredibly sad, because I think that there's a missed opportunity. And I think the people that are the most sad, and the ones that are suffering the most, are the ones that are languishing, and the ones that are not flourishing, and the ones that they feel stuck in their job. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have to feel that way. You can do something about that. So this is just me really quickly. These are the things I love. And by the way, I'll have to change this because Mookie is getting a buddy. We're going to get another dog, and we've already named the dog Max. So I will be sharing pictures. I'll have to change this graphic somehow when Max comes along. I'm always going to keep Zeke there. Zeke was our first dog, and Zeke was amazing. Very, very different personality than Mookie, and we'll find out what Max is like. But I miss Zeke every single day. So I would love to have the chance to have a conversation with you. If you are so inclined, you can join our 1% Better community, where we have the 10-day challenge and getting better 1% every single day. I think it's that in and of itself is pretty valuable. But I very much appreciate your time today, and I knew I was going to go over a little bit, so hopefully that wasn't an issue. But meaningful work matters, and you matter. And by the way, I will say, if you do want a this PDF, I'd be happy to get it to you. This is just something I created, that accompanies this. So thank you for taking the time to be with me today, and I look forward to next week. You take care. Bye.